everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Wednesday. It's April 16th, 2025, and this is episode 307. My name is Carol. I'm known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. In fact, I now live just a little bit less than a mile closer to Vancouver than the last time we chatted, which was about a month ago. So welcome to our new home. Welcome to my new craft room, which currently has the most boring background ever. That's because we're in the middle of renovations. I just finished painting this room yesterday, and it probably sounds kind of echoey because the old dusty rose carpet has been rolled up and is sitting over there, and right in front of me over here we just had some new laminate flooring delivered this morning, so there's a whole stack of it right in front of me. But this room gets great morning sun, and I thought it would be fun to start off the podcasting in this house where it will probably happen most of the time, in my craft room. So we'll get into all about the move and renovations and life things later on in the episode. But first I want to mention there is a make-along taking place in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group, which I have not really participated in or anything for quite a while now. But it is called Stash Spectacular. It's a very casual year-long chatter thread where I invite you to come and talk about all the things you are making out of your pattern, yarn, and fiber stash. And I am looking forward to when we get truly settled in and I can start taking part in that again. All right, I have finished a project. Actually, I was just going through my notes and I finished it probably the evening of the day that I last recorded, which was back in our old place. And it is my swallowtail socks. So this yarn is from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. It is the Bounce Base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And this was part of the Lepidoptera Club. I think it might have been the very first shipment in the first club, but don't quote me on that. It came with 2 mini skeins. This is the Swallowtails colorway, I should say that. And it came with 2 minis. This is Larva Green and this is Accent Orange. So very basic, plain vanilla sock, 64 stitches on a 2mm needle, top down, 2x2 rib, traditional heel flap and gusset, and a complementary rounded toe. So these have been finished for a while, but haven't worn them yet because I've been waiting to show them to you. Not a ton of knitting going on these days, sadly. But I do when I can, and you know, I'm itching. Oh, it's just a theme right now in my life. I'm itching for when things get back to normal. Anyway, I'm not going to keep saying that because, you know, it's going to get old real fast if I do. I have another pair of socks on the go, and they are this close to being finished. In fact, all the second sock needs is the toe. But I am holding off finishing these socks because I want to wrap them up at the same time I finish a project that I'm doing in tandem out of the same colorway, only in hand spun. And so one night, I don't know, a couple weeks ago probably, I had no plain knitting, and we were watching TV, and it was like, okay, I can't stand this anymore. I'm gonna go grab these socks and do the toe, so at least I have something to knit while I watch TV. And then I later cast on another plain stockinette project, which I will show you in a few minutes. But I just didn't want to finish them. So this is also from Fiber Nymph Dye Works, Bounce Base. This is a legacy colorway, and the pattern I used is Heel Toe Do-Si Do by Kay Litton, who is the crazy sock lady. I ordered a couple of minis along with this yarn. This is, I want to say eggplant, could be wrong. And I also ordered the dark navy, but when I got to the end of the sock, the blue was not going to land. Like right here, it was actually perfect timing. That's not the right word, but perfect positioning, because when I reached this point with this eggplant or purple stripe, it was exactly the length that I like my sock legs, and so I incorporated that colorway in for the heel. But when I reached the toe, the blue was still a ways away, and so I decided to just finish them with the self-striping yarn. So I've got a mini in this dark blue colorway. So love these socks, look forward to finishing the pair, but it's gonna be a while because I wanted to kind of finish the two at the same time and show them to you. The other project is called Spaarkle, and it is a color work rounded yoke sweater, and I hand spun yarn in the BFL, mixed BFL base, and I'm using that for the color work. So if I remember, I'll pop a picture in here, but yeah, I just kind of want them to get finished at the same time. So those will be a while, but just love how bright this is. Don't think I came up close to show you very well. Yeah, I purposely wore something bright to hopefully brighten up this shot. It's just so beige at the moment. I had to laugh because I think old habits die hard. I actually pulled out, well, here are the colors that I'm doing in the new house. So this is going to be all the bedrooms. My craft room is technically a bedroom. And then this is the color for the rest of the house. So I came across my sample swatch, or no, what do you call these? Paint chips from our old house. So this was our main area. Look familiar? And this was a feature wall in our living room, and also partway down the stairs in our entranceway. And so I just thought it was kind of funny. Very similar color palette that I chose, but I guess it makes sense because we've got a lot of the same furniture, same pictures, things like that. So, and I do like, you know, a neutral background for a lot of things. My old house had more color in the bedrooms, but I just thought I would just keep things very kind of consistent throughout the house this time. Anyway, that's an aside. I think this episode's gonna be kind of like that because right now my brain's feeling very scrambled. Our house is chaotic, and so, oh, that must be someone driving by. Do you see how the light changed there? Anyway, yeah, bear with me. Okay, next up, I have a project. I actually showed this to you. Hang on, I'm just gonna lean over, put the sock blockers away, and I've just got another, sitting on a folding chair here. Can't see it, but I am. And I've got another folding chair here to hold all my things because everything is really dusty right now and I don't want to put it down like on the floor or anything. Okay, so last episode I told you that when I was packing up my old craft room, I came across this pattern called Aurora's at Night. And it's called a shawl, but really it's more of a long, narrow scarf. It's a triangular shape, and it's a combination of this pattern, which I guess if you look at it this way is supposed to, I would think not signify, but you know what I mean. It's supposed to remind you of the Northern Lights. And then there are these garter strip and reverse garter, or no, stockinette and reverse stockinette stripes that go in between the lace section. So that's would be the tip of the scarf, tip of the triangle. So this is designed by Lori Law of Ocean Wind Knits, and I used to work with her many years ago at a yarn shop before she moved back east to Ontario. But at the same time that I got the pattern, I got the yarn to go with it, and it is the Ocean Wind Knits sock base, and the colorway is Northwest Territories. And when I came across this pattern, I thought it would be perfect for my sister Jacqueline, because last winter she and her husband traveled to Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, and specifically to see the Northern Lights. And so I just knew that this had her name written all over it. Now, I did show you the beginnings of it on my last episode. Let's see if I hold it there. Okay, no, that doesn't work. Challenging. There, I think you can see the wavy stitches there. I am now ready. I've done all the increasing. Let me just make sure I'm showing the right, because I know I did this last time too. Yeah, this is the straight edge, and this is the increase edge along the bottom. Now I'm going to start decreasing again, working out to another skinny end like this. Now, since I have seen you last, I actually ripped back to here and reknit all this. I had gotten this far before, not as of the last episode, but I did reach this point. And I had this thing niggling at me, and I finally decided I wouldn't be happy unless I fixed it. Now, the designer very specifically tells you when you get to the lace section, she wants you to slip the first stitch in a different way than you slip it on this section. And this is a nice sort of a chain edge, nice edge to it. And I did what she said, and I did it all the way to the end, and it kept bothering me because I didn't like the way it lay. Now, granted, this one also curls in because this is a stockinette section, and stockinette likes to roll. But I took it back and did the edge stitch the same way as it is on here, and I am happier with it. And I do think once I block it, that those edges should lay a little bit flatter. At least that's my hope. So my sister's birthday is at the end of April, and I'm going to really concentrate on getting this done. Another of my sisters is going to, she lives in Toronto, and another of my sisters is going to be back east and is going to see her. So I would like to get this to her so she can take it with her and give it to Jacqueline. So I've been working on this every chance that I get for the last little while, once I kind of realized how far into April we actually are. But yeah, really pretty yarn. This part, very memorizable. This part with the lace, not so much memorizable, but there's a good rhythm to it when you do each row. And so I haven't found that too difficult. All right, gonna also, oh, and I've got it in this cute little sheep bag. And I realized I must have spilled tea or something because it's all stained on the bottom, so I'm not sure what happened there. I should try and wash it once I'm done with it. I don't normally wash project bags, do you guys? I don't think I've ever felt like I've had a reason to before. Okay, all right, that'll stay. So anyway, as I mentioned, when I was looking for a project of just really simple knitting when I was watching TV, and so I decided I needed to cast on another pair of socks. So I went looking before this room became empty. When we moved in, we put all the craft room stuff in this room. I had bins stacked all over, boxes and shelving unit, all these things. So I did have some access to my craft things. So I was looking for sock yarn, and I ended up pulling out this sock blank from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. So I think 3 out of 4 of my projects are Fiber Nymph Dye Works this week. This is, there's her logo. I've seen it many times on this podcast before. And this is a happenstance sock blanket. It's one of a kind, number 2, and it is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. I've had it for a long time. I don't think there's a date on here, no, but I've had it forever. And it looks like this. So lots of fun colors. I actually took a picture of it outside on my swing, which I will put in here, and it really shows the colors well. So I started a pair of socks, and I didn't get very far. And I thought, do I really need another pair of socks? I had just recently unpacked all of my knitwear, and it was right smack in my face just how many socks I own. I will show you a couple pictures here. So we had used to have this armoire in our bedroom with the TV in it, and when we were staging our house to sell, it was recommended that we get it out of there to make our bedroom look bigger. And so when we moved, we knew we didn't want a TV in our bedroom again anyway. And I started thinking, maybe I could store my knitwear in there. And actually, after we had moved it out of our room, it was in the garage, and I had transferred a bunch of my knitwear into it. And so I thought, if it fits in our new bedroom, that would be perfect. And so it did. And so as you can see from this picture, I've got all my sweaters in there and all my socks. And then the lower drawer holds like our hats and gloves and things like that. Our bedroom door is very close to our front door. And originally I thought I would get some kind of cabinet with drawers to store those things in the entranceway. But I think we'd be better off having a chair there for people if they need to sit down and put on their shoes. Plus, we're going to need a space for, we have 2 extra chairs that we've bought to go with our dining set, and we need a spot for them anyway. So I thought, well, this is a good place for it. It's accessible to us easily, and it tucks everything away. And then, as you'll see in this shot, I used my husband's grandmother's old hope chest, which I used to have in my craft room for yarn. I've put all my shawls and scarves and things in there. Kind of crazy when you see them all in one place. So I thought, do I really need to knit another pair of socks right now? You know what? I'm going to keep knitting socks. But I thought, you know what? I keep wanting to try the Musselburgh hat. Everybody raves about it. I thought that's perfect kind of stockinette knitting. I can do watching TV or riding in the car. And so I decided to use this sock blank for it. And here's how it looks so far. Now it is crinkly because when you get your yarn off the sock blank, you're unknitting what's been knitted. And so unless you wind it off and reskein it and soak it, it has this crinkle. But when you wash and block your knitted item, that will smooth out. So it's kind of neat. At first when I cast it on, I thought, oh, it's going to be very blue. But then as I've been knitting it, you can see all the colors coming up, almost striping. So this has been very enjoyable. I started out with doing magic loop, and then I soon grew tired of that once the hat reached its full circumference. And then I was pleasantly surprised to see that I could put on my interchangeable tips on a short cable and comfortably knit it in the round. So these are the 4-inch tips, I guess. This is the Chowgu red lace needle tips. So yeah, 1, 2, yeah, it must be 4-inch as opposed to the 5-inch that I'm pretty sure that's what I usually use. Pretty sure. And then probably a 14, yeah, I think it's a 14-inch cable. Anyway, I can see why people enjoy knitting it because it's very pleasant to see it take shape, and it's just a great alternative to socks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out. So very fun. For those who may not be familiar with sock blanks, they come in a couple of different ways. This one is a single sock blank, so it's basically, what, 400 and something yards, I think. 463 yards of yarn that's knit, of plain yarn that's knit into a strip. And then the dyer does whatever they like on it. And then you just find the end that undoes easily and you just knit right off it. And depending on how it's been dyed, you get all sorts of different kinds of results in your knitted fabric. So that has stemmed from, it's all twisted. It's all stemmed from this. Isn't that fun? So you never know what you're gonna get. It's kind of like life. It's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. According to Forrest Gump, right? That is it for all the knitting. Sadly, I don't have any spinning to share with you. I don't think I've spun in, it's gotta be about at least 2 months. And I miss it terribly. I look longingly at my spinning wheel all the time, but I just don't really have a good space to set it up in right now. And just haven't really had the time or brain power to sit down and kind of get back into the rhythm of it. But I am looking forward to that day. I do have an acquisition, however. Well, actually 2 acquisitions, but I bought them at the same time. So, shortly after we moved in here, I think within a day or 2, I received a card in the mail, a housewarming card from a viewer, a Ravelry group member, a knitting friend. And it was so surprising. And my first thought was, how did she know our new address? And then I realized the card had been forwarded from our old one. In any case, along with the card, she also sent some money to use for a housewarming gift. And so I wanted it to be something special. And when my husband and I were at a garden center last weekend, I saw the perfect thing, or the perfect things. Look at these little sheep, little tails. Aren't they cute? So I bought a couple of succulents to put in them, and these are going to live here in the craft room. And so thank you again. You know who you are, and I will think of you every time I see these. I just thought they were perfect. So love them. I've only had them for a few days and smile every time I see them. And that's it for all the knitting, crafting, sheepy content. So I'm going to chat a little bit about our move and about what we're doing in our new home, and some other life stuff. So you might want to get comfortable. I'll probably end up talking way more about it than I intend to, because that tends to be how things go. Surprise, surprise, that's exactly what did happen. I was editing and realized that I had rambled on way too long, and so I decided that rather than try and edit this morning's footage, I would just sit down and re-record the rest of the episode. It's now several hours later, and we are sitting here in our living room where we get the afternoon and evening sun. So Cameron came home for lunch and is long gone. That's one thing, our move cut his commute in about half, so he is only about 1.2 kilometers to work now, which makes it even easier for him to pop home for lunch every day. So I was thinking that if you are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. You might have gathered that this is not a typical episode. It'll be 4 weeks ago this coming Friday that my husband and I moved out of the 5-bedroom house that we had bought over 35 years ago and where we'd raised our family, and into a 3-bedroom townhouse in a 55+ gated community. It was time to downsize. So people have been asking, are you all settled in? And I always answer yes and no. It's definitely starting to feel like home. And in some cases, we're surrounded by familiar things, like this living room set was in our family room in our old house. We brought all our bedroom furniture and bedding with us. And in fact, our new bedroom is laid out very much like our old bedroom, so that's felt pretty familiar. On the other hand, we've been living in basically half our house. We knew when we bought this place that was quite a few things we wanted to do to it, and one of them was to replace the dusty pink carpet that runs up the stairs and was in the 2 bedrooms and loft area up there. Some of it, as I've already mentioned, has been ripped out. But until we get our flooring done, we can't truly move in as much as we'd like. So we're living in a bit of chaos now. For instance, like you can see here, this is the lamp that belongs here, but tucked in behind there is my ring light and 3 other lamps, which will eventually make their way upstairs. I'm sitting here in front of not 1 but 2 coffee tables. Again, one will eventually go upstairs. This 1 bedroom will be my craft room. The 2nd bedroom is going to be a den. So there'll be a sofa bed in there that we can use when we have overnight guests, but it'll also serve as a room where we can, we can have the ability to be in 2 different rooms in the evenings, watching the kinds of things we want to, or having a quiet place to read or something like that. So, it will all happen eventually, but in the meantime, things are pretty chaotic. There's a lot of other things that are crammed in this living room, dining room area. And everything's very dusty. As often happens when you make plans for renovations, they don't always turn out how you expect. So we, besides tearing out the carpet, replacing the carpet, we also knew that we needed to repair some grout that was crumbling in the tile. The tile went from the hallway, the bathrooms, and the laundry room. But then when we had the guy from the flooring company come to do an estimate on the laminate for upstairs, he did a little bit of investigation and he said, well, I can definitely fix this grout, but the problem is it's just going to happen again because the tiles are moving for some reason and we need to figure out what that is. So what we have since learned is that, especially near the front door where most of the crumbling was happening, it's like it was obviously a do-it-yourself job, and the person doing it must have run out of the subfloor that he was using. I'm assuming it's a guy. I shouldn't, but I am. The person, whoever was doing it, must have run out of the material they were using for the subfloor, and so I don't know where they found the rest of the things, but there was some other kind of wood that they tried to build up with wall glue. And in one place, this one strip, there was even something that looked like carpet insulation, underlay. So no wonder it wasn't sitting right. So we decided, let's just start over. And so we're replacing everywhere there was this ceramic tile, we're replacing it with vinyl tile. So that's more work and expense than we had planned on. To save some money, Cameron's been ripping out the old flooring. So it's just been really loud when he's been working on that, and very, very dusty. And then we had planned all along to replace the countertop, sink, and backsplash in the kitchen. And then we realized once we moved in that the cupboards are starting to give way in some places, and this door doesn't close properly, and this part's missing the toe kick part, and it's just like, you know what? Let's bite the bullet and replace the cabinets now too, because if we're doing all the other stuff, we might as well spend the money now and the time now and do it, and then it's done right, and it's not something we're going to have to do again. We're considering this our next place before we need some sort of assistance, some sort of assisted living. So we anticipate hoping to be here 20 years or so, and so we've just decided it's better to do it right now and not be worrying about everything in the future. Lots of positives. We've got 2 skylights. It's really bright. I love the sound of the rain on the skylights. We have a private backyard area. The neighbors have been super nice and welcoming. We had looked at another unit in this complex back in the fall, and even though we didn't, the unit itself didn't suit us, we were struck then by how friendly everyone was, and that has continued to play out. Doesn't matter where you walk to, everyone says hello, and oh, you must be new, and introduce themselves, and it's just been a really positive experience. People look out for each other, and so I do anticipate being very happy here, especially once we just get everything to our liking. Another thing is painting, as I mentioned earlier. I don't know if you can tell, this is like a very pale blue, and it's everywhere throughout except on the very highest parts of this room and the kitchen, because we have these very high ceilings that are slanted, and it obviously was too high for whoever is doing the painting to reach. And so we are hiring someone to do those high areas, and I will be able to do the lower areas. But just to, again, have a color that we're, that's more to our taste. And then we can, get all our things set up and really start living here. So I'm looking forward to that. Other than all of what we've been doing here, ball has started. Cameron's thrilled about that. The first night we were supposed to play, the other team forfeited because they couldn't put a team together. And then the next week it poured rain and all of the games were canceled. But we finally got out there on Monday night. Most beautiful weather. It was a perfect night for ball, and it was just good to see everyone back together. And I think we'll have another good season of ball. Win or lose, it's just a really nice atmosphere on the bench. I know I mentioned that last year too, and it's been great. So again, if you're new, my husband plays slow pitch and I keep score. I have to say I wasn't disappointed with the canceled game, because there's nothing worse than sitting there when it's cold and damp and you're not moving around, so you get a bit chilly. All right, so I think that's all the chit chat about that. That's enough. Now it's time for something good. When I recorded this morning, I actually had 4 good things, but something has happened since then that I am adding as a 5th. So number 1, I am going to Norway this fall with my Toronto sister and my mom and my niece. I did not see this coming. What had happened is my niece and my mom have talked about going to Norway together, and that's a place that's been on my mom's bucket list, but she wasn't sure how she would make out. However, she went on a trip to Italy earlier this year with my younger sister and did really, really well. And so she said to my niece, you know what, let's go ahead and book it. And then my Toronto sister asked if she could tag along, and then proceeded to ask me if I wanted to come too and be her roommate. So I was kind of hesitant because it's a big trip, and usually Cameron and I take those kinds of big trips together. But when I told him about it, he said, oh yes, go. Text her right back and let her know you're gonna go. So I'm going to Norway. This all happened just a few days before we moved, and so it's still kind of sinking in. But yeah, I think it's going to be very cool. And I will be sure to take some Ornate and Carlos yarn to knit on my trip, because what could be more appropriate than that? Okay, second good thing. So I knew that moving here that we were not going to be allowed to have bird feeders, and I was resigned to that. I understand the reasons. We are allowed to have hummingbird feeders though, so that'll be nice once I get them up. But the day, I believe it was the day we moved in, or maybe it was the next day, I could hear house finches singing, and I have seen them and heard them frequently. They often will come and sit in our hedge or on the fence or drink out of the bird bath, which I did bring with me. And a couple of times I saw them with something in their mouth, so they're obviously nesting nearby. And so that has made me very happy. Number 3, Saturday morning, we got a phone call from our younger of the 2 sons. I say youngest son, which he is, but he's also the younger son. Anyway, he called to say that he and his girlfriend had gotten engaged the night before. So we're very happy about that. We're not entirely surprised. We knew it was in the cards, and we knew my son had been talking to me about a ring not that long ago. So not completely surprised, we just didn't know when it would happen, but are very happy about that, and they are planning a wedding for next spring. Good thing number 4 is that my mother-in-law will be turning 100 years old on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. And so on Friday, Cameron and I are going to Victoria, where she lives, and we and the rest of his brother and his wife and other brother, we've planned to have a like a tea or small party at her residence. And so our kids are all going to be coming over for that, and yeah, quite the milestone. So that's something good. Her father lived to be just a couple of months shy of 101, and unfortunately she lost her 2 remaining sisters this past year, but all of her 3 sisters lived into their 90s, so longevity definitely runs in that family. And now for number 5. So as I was trying to record earlier, there was my doorbell rang, and I opened it up to find a woman standing there, and she had some mail that had gone to our old address, even though we had done a change of address. And when we had moved, I had written out a little letter for her, just to, things that she might find helpful, knowing about the place when they moved in, and had left our new address in case something came that they could forward it. But a couple of the things that were there were our election cards. We have a federal election coming up, and for some reason they went to our old address. But she had something else in her hand which made me very happy to see. Back in January, I had gone online and arranged to have a letter from the Prime Minister for my mother-in-law's 100th birthday. And it hadn't arrived, and the date's getting closer, and I'd basically given up on it. As if you live in Canada, for sure and if you live elsewhere, you might also be aware that our Prime Minister has recently changed. Justin Trudeau stepped back. Mark Carney was chosen as the leader of the Liberal Party, and now there's going to be a federal election to see if he can retain that seat, or if there'll be a change of government. So I just assumed, with all the changes going on in the Prime Minister's office, that maybe it fell through the cracks. I looked into inquiring about it, but it wasn't that straightforward. There was no one place to send an email. You had to pick which department it had to do with, and it didn't qualify for any of them. So we had just basically given it up for lost. So when I saw that in her hand, it just made me super happy. But what also made me very happy, so I guess this is maybe number 6, is I got to meet the one of the people who, one half of the couple who bought our old house. I had always hoped that it would be a family. We have a lot of people that are buying up homes in the Fraser Valley and renting them out. A lot of people from closer to Vancouver, and they'll buy a property out here and then rent it. And I had really hoped that we would sell to a family. And we weren't quite sure what had happened. Cameron had seen one of our old neighbors. They said there wasn't much going on there. We've driven by a couple times, hadn't seen very much. So we didn't really know, who was living there. But it was this very, very nice woman. She says they have 2 kids. I think she said 3 and 9, I think. She loves the view. Of course she does. It was spectacular. She says she just looks out every day, and when people ask or comment she's said, this is why we bought this place. And so that makes me so happy just to know there's a family in there. They're liking the place, loving the view, and getting settled in. So that really made my day because we've been wondering, right? What I didn't mention is we also have somewhat of a mountain view. Here I'm in the living room. We look out to our backyard, which is mostly before I had a coughing fit, I kind of breathed in funny and tickled my throat. The living room where I'm sitting now and the dining area, which is just adjacent to here, and then the kitchen, which is past that, they all look out onto the backyard, which is mostly patio, but has a little bit of a garden area and a row of hedges. But the bedrooms all look out towards the front, and from the top two bedrooms over the rooftops of the complex, there is a mountain view. And including from the one bedroom, we can still see the mountains that used to be right behind our house. So I am thrilled. It's not quite as spectacular as what we had in our old house, but I'm thrilled to still be able to see mountains from here. And I'm glad that the new family is enjoying the mountains as much as we did. So that was an unexpected boost to my day to be able to meet the new owner, and I'm glad that they're happy so far in their new house. So that just made me feel so good. All right, so it took me a few tries to re-record this segment, and it is now late afternoon, so I am going to go finish editing, put it all together, and hope to get it up by this evening. I'm not sure when I'll have another episode out. Hopefully when things settle down and the new normal kicks in, I'll be able to have a more regular recording schedule. But in the meantime, I will chat with you when I can. And until that time, I will just wish you well, and thank you for watching, and thank you for all the kind comments and good wishes on our move. So take care, and I hope to see you again really soon. Bye for now.